First, global threat, the gates. 10 years before the story begins, reality fractured. These portals appear randomly across the globe, connecting the human world to chaotic dimensions filled with magic beasts. They aren't just holes in space, they are ticking time bombs. Once a gate opens, it remains stable for exactly 7 days. During this window, the portal is permeable only to those with magical power. If the boss of the dungeon inside isn't killed within that week-long limit, a dungeon break occurs, shattering the barrier and spilling monsters into civilian cities. This single mechanic reshaped human society, turning monster hunting into the world's most critical industry and creating a new energy economy based on the mana crystals harvested from the dead beasts. Second, biological rule, the awakening and rank system. Coinciding with the gates, select humans experience the awakening, a physiological shift connecting them to mana. The most brutal rule of this world is that potential is static. When a hunter awakens, their mana is measured and assigned a rank from E to S. Unlike video games or shonen tropes, a hunter cannot train to raise this rank. An E rank is barely stronger than a normal human and will remain that way forever, usually relegated to mining or baggage carrying. An S rank is a walking nuclear deterrent. This hierarchy creates a rigid caste system where the weak are disposable fodder for the strong. A reality Sung Jinwoo suffers through as the world's weakest hunter until he breaks the logic of the universe. Third, event, the double dungeon, CARTENON Temple. This is the catalyst located inside a deceptively simple D-rank dungeon. While most dungeons are caverns or ruins, this is a scripted temple governed by absolute rules rather than brute force. It introduces the commandments of the system: worship the Lord, praise the Lord, and prove your faith. The terrifying statue of God serves as the enforcer, massacring high-rank hunters who fail to follow the hidden script. It is here that Jinwoo displays his high perception, solving the temple's puzzles while others panic. By sacrificing himself on the altar to save the remaining party members, he fulfills the hidden courage of the weak criteria, triggering the secret quest that installs the system. Fourth, anomaly, the system interface. Following the double dungeon, Jinwoo becomes the only existence in the world capable of leveling up. The system manifests as a blue holographic interface visible only to him, gamifying his reality. It provides him with an inventory for infinite storage, a gold shop to buy weapons and healing items, and a status window that quantifies his strength. Crucially, it acts as a sentient, ruthless instructor. It doesn't just help him, it forces him to grow by issuing quests with lethal penalties for failure. The system is the narrative bridge that allows a human to ascend to the level of a monarch. Fifth, mechanics, the daily quest and penalty zone. The system's method of forcing growth is brutal. Every day, Jinwoo must complete a workout routine: 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10 kilometers run. In the beginning, failure to complete this by midnight triggers a penalty quest. This teleports Jinwoo to a punishment zone, a vast, endless desert filled with giant venomous centipedes. However, Jinwoo weaponizes this punishment. He realizes the monsters in the penalty zone yield experience points. By surviving the 4-hour penalty, he power levels rapidly. The reward for completing the daily quest includes a status recovery, which acts as a full heal, effectively giving him 1 extra life per day if he times it right. Sixth, location, instant dungeon, HAPJEONG subway station. While normal hunters must apply for raid permits, the system grants Jinwoo keys to instant dungeons, private instances locked off from the real world. His first major solo grind happens in a twisted version of HAPJEONG Station. This is where he learns that beasts here don't respawn. Once he kills them, they stay dead and he keeps the XP. The dungeon gets harder the deeper he goes, culminating in the boss fight against Blue Venom-Fanged Kasaka, a giant cobra. Defeating it grants him the Kasaka's Venom Fang, a dagger that inflicts paralysis and bleed, and a venom gland potion that toughs his skin at the cost of muscle damage. Damage the system immediately heals, leaving him with only the buff. 7th, passive skill, Will to Recover. Because Jinwoo fights alone, he cannot rely on a healer-class hunter. The system compensates for this with Will to Recover, a passive skill unlocked through repeated trauma. It grants him accelerated regeneration. While it can't instantly regrow limbs in the early stages, it allows him to close wounds in minutes that would hospitalize a normal person for weeks. It's the engine that allows his reckless, tank-like fighting style, letting him trade hits with bosses, knowing he will outlast them. 8th, Phenomenon, the Red Gate. Usually, a hunter can retreat from a dungeon if things go south. A Red Gate is a rare, lethal anomaly where the portal locks behind the raid team, turning red and cutting off all connection to the outside world. Inside, the environment is often hostile. In Jinwoo's case, a frozen tundra. The only way out is to clear the boss or wait for a dungeon break, which usually means death. During the Red Gate arc involving the Ice Elves and their king, Baruka, Jinwoo is forced to reveal his true power to the White Tiger Guild's eyes. He acts as a one-man army, keeping the lower-ranked recruits alive in a situation that should have been a massacre. 9th, Active Skill, Stealth. Acquired from a runestone dropped by the assassin Kang Taeshik, this skill allows Jinwoo to completely erase his presence, hiding his scent, sound, and visual form. While Jinwoo has the physical strength of a warrior and the mana of a mage, his combat style remains rooted in the assassin class. He uses stealth not just to hide, but to reposition instantly in boss fights, striking vital points before the enemy registers he has moved. It is the ultimate tool for a solo fighter who cannot afford to be surrounded. 10th, Active Skill, Murderous Intent. Also known as Bloodlust, this is an active debuff skill that weaponizes Jinwoo's magical pressure. When activated, it blasts a target with overwhelming fear. Statistically, this reduces the target's attributes by 50% for a short duration. Narratively, it creates a stun effect. We see this used effectively against high-level assassins and beasts alike. They freeze, hallucinating their own death, giving Jinwoo the opening to land a critical hit. It signifies his transition from prey to apex predator. 11th, Trial, the job change quest. Upon reaching level 40, the system directs Jinwoo to a special dungeon, the Stadium of the Dead, to determine his final class. He expects an assassin class, but is thrown into a gauntlet against waves of armored knights. The boss, Blood Red Commander IGRIS, serves as the ultimate wall. IGRIS is faster, stronger, and more skilled than Jinwoo. Jinwoo abandons his weapons and resorts to brute forcing the armor with his bare hands and sheer grit. However, the quest doesn't end with IGRIS's defeat. The penalty timer ticks down, forcing Jinwoo to survive against an endless horde. Because he chooses to fight rather than hide, he exceeds the points needed for a normal class. 12th, Ultimate Class, the Shadow Monarch. Instead of an assassin or necromancer, the system grants him a hidden unique class, the Shadow Monarch. This fundamentally breaks the balance of the world. It converts Jinwoo from a solo DPS into a Legion commander. It grants him the ability to extract mana from the corpses of his enemies to create loyal shadow soldiers. These soldiers retain their skills and rank from life, regenerate endlessly as long as Jinwoo has mana, and can be stored in his own shadow. 13th, Skill, Shadow Extraction, Arise. This is the command phrase that triggers the resurrection. Jinwoo has 3 chances to extract a shadow. The success rate depends on the gap between his strength and the target's will to resist. His first major extraction is IGRIS, who becomes his first Knight-grade shadow. This skill solves Jinwoo's only weakness, numbers. He no longer needs a guild because he carries an army in his pocket. 14th, Skill, Shadow Exchange. Unlocked alongside his Monarch status, this utility skill is a game changer for travel. It allows Jinwoo to instantly swap places with any of his shadow soldiers, regardless of the distance. He can leave a shadow attached to his sister or a fellow hunter as a bodyguard, and if they are in danger, he can teleport across the country in a blink. It turns him into a global rapid response unit, untethered by physical travel time. 15th, Skill, Ruler's Authority, Dominator's Touch. Initially appearing as a telekinetic hand called Dominator's Touch, this skill evolves into Ruler's Authority. It allows Jinwoo to manipulate mana to move objects without touching them. He uses this to control the battlefield, yanking enemies into his dagger range, stripping them of their shields, or even flying by manipulating the air around him. It implies a connection to the Rulers, the ancient enemies of the Monarchs, hinting at the hybrid nature of his power. 16th. Dungeon, the Demon's Castle, an S-rank instance dungeon that Jinwoo climbs over several months. It is a literal tower of hell, filled with demons and requiring specific crafting items to ascend. The environment itself deals constant heat damage, forcing Jinwoo to rely on fire resistance gear. The true prize here is the Holy Water of Life, a craftable item that can cure any disease, which Jinwoo needs for his mother. The final boss, the Demon King Baran, drops weapons and runestones that push Jinwoo into the realm of the national level hunters. 17th. Item, the key to the CARTENON temple. Late in his progression, the system invites him back to where it all started. This key unlocks the return to the double dungeon. Here, Jinwoo must face the architect of the system to understand the truth of his power. This isn't just a nostalgia trip, it's the final test to see if the vessel is ready to fully inherit the power of the Shadow Monarch, Ashborn. 18th. Shadow Grade, General to Marshal. The system classifies his shadows by power. Normal, elite, knight, standard fodder, and strong captains like IGRIS. General, shadows capable of speech and independent thought, like Beru, the Ant King. Marshal, the highest grade, representing a power capable of rivaling a nation. This hierarchy explains why Jinwoo is desperate to level up his soldiers. At higher grades, they regain their personalities and memories, becoming true companions rather than mindless puppets. General to Marshal. This hierarchy explains why Jinwoo is desperate to level up his soldiers. At higher grades, they regain their personalities and memories, becoming true companions rather than mindless puppets. 19th. Notable shadow, IGRIS the Blood Red. After successfully extracting the Blood Red commander from the job change quest, IGRIS becomes Jinwoo's most trusted shadow and his first martial grade soldier. IGRIS retains his original tremendous speed, fighting prowess, and absolute loyalty, a devotion that transcends his original master and transfers entirely to the Shadow Monarch. IGRIS's ability to wield a sword with superhuman grace and power makes him the ideal close-quarters guard, often acting as Jinwoo's first line of defense. His presence in the Shadow Army immediately elevates their collective combat level, turning the army into a truly coordinated force rather than just a mob. 20th. Key item, Holy Water of Life. This isn't a weapon or a skill, but the ultimate prize sought within the Demon's Castle. This crafting material is synthesized from items dropped by the high-level demons within the S-rank tower, particularly the Demon King. The Holy Water of Life is the only cure available in the world for eternal slumber, the magical coma plaguing Jinwoo's mother. This item is the crucial link between the seemingly detached game-like system and Jinwoo's deeply personal motivations. His ruthless grinding and risk-taking aren't just for power. They are to save his family, forcing the highest level dungeons to yield real-world medical miracles. 21st. Ultimate skill, Monarch's Domain. A high-level class skill unlocked as Jinwoo matures into the Shadow Monarch role. When activated, Monarch's Domain creates a massive localized field of shadow energy. While within this field, all offensive and defensive attributes of Jinwoo's shadow soldiers are amplified, often by a staggering 50%. This skill effectively turns a general area into a strategic kill zone, reinforcing the concept that Jinwoo doesn't just fight, he dominates the very battlefield around him, turning any ground he occupies into his sovereign territory. 22nd. Active skill, Quicksilver. As Jinwoo's agility stat skyrockets, the simple early game sprint skill evolves into Quicksilver, increasing his movement speed to superhuman levels. This is the ability that causes his fighting style to look like momentary teleportation. It allows him to dodge high-speed magical attacks, close massive distances on a boss in less than a second, and move across large dungeons faster than any other human. Coupled with his passives, Quicksilver is why even the most formidable S-rank hunters cannot keep up with his movements, solidifying his role as the fastest offensive force alive. 23rd. Lore implication, the KAMISH incident. Though this event happens years before Jinwoo's awakening, it serves as the benchmark for absolute catastrophic power. KAMISH was the largest S-rank dragon beast to ever escape a gate, single-handedly wiping out entire hunter guilds and devastating parts of the American West Coast before finally being felled by the combined might of several national-level hunters. The lore establishes that the magic crystals and power scales found on KAMISH were the source materials for the world's best artifacts. This historical catastrophe constantly reminds the audience of the extreme existential threat posed by S-rank monsters, and eventually the magnitude of the power Jinwoo commands, as he ultimately faces creatures even stronger than the legendary dragon. 24th. Truth, the Architect's Vessel. The final revelation of the early arcs is that the system was never truly an accident. It was created by the Architect, the entity behind the CARTENON temple, under the instruction of the Shadow Monarch himself, Ashbourne. The system's purpose was singular: to aggressively raise a suitable, battle-hardened human vessel capable of surviving the transfer of Ashbourne's power, thereby giving the Shadow Monarch a foothold on Earth. Every quest, every penalty, every item was designed not just to make Jinwoo strong, but to force him into a relentless, self-sufficient path that would prepare him for a cosmic war far beyond the scope of mere gates and guilds.